it's that time where we break down the secrets to making 7 figures a year, folks. Yes, we're going to talk about the secrets to make over $1 million a year. We're going to have this conversation with the one and only Adrian Hernandez. How you doing, buddy?
Ching, 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 ching. What's up, everybody? Let's go. I'm excited for this conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's break it down. How many years have you grossed 7 figures? If you don't know the exact number, you can just give me a range. How many
Yeah.
years do you think you've done it?
Well, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. We're on 24.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
we're talking 5 years in a row. Uh, so when you break down my story, it really depends on what you want to count. So if you're just going to break down my W-2, the best I ever did was 800. I think 801 or 803. But that's not
As
how
a
I look at it.
W-2?
As a W-2. Yeah.
Dude,
Yeah.
let's
Yeah.
go.
That was the best year. Plenty of years over 5. But when you look at my income, it obviously is W-2 plus my rental income, right? If you add all of that together, I have grossed 7 figures for, oh my God, 12, 13 years in a row,
That is
something like
awesome.
that.
That is
So
awesome.
those are the results. But now I want to step back and really talk to people about the secrets to making 7 figures a year. So
Yeah.
why don't you go ahead and
Yeah.
jump off with one of your secrets?
Yeah. So first secret, guys, when it comes to 7 figures a year is the mindset to believe that you can actually hit that 7 figures a year. Now, let me pause real fast because some of you guys may be like, "Oh, I can do $1 million. I can do it," right? And I used to think the same thing, but I didn't really believe that it was possible. There was an anchor, there was something in me that really didn't fully believe that that was actually possible, right? So the first thing I'm going to say is the mindset to actually get to 7 figures, right? And that was, I know for me, one of the biggest. I was doing the actions, I was taking the right steps, I was moving in the right direction, but the mindset was skewed. And once I fixed some little, some adjustments in here, I did notice a big catapult in income.
Yeah. One of the things that I would say first, having been playing in this space for 20 plus years, I think for most people, the easiest way to make 7 figures a year is to be an entrepreneur. I think
Yeah.
the odds are in your favor versus being a W-2 employee. If you're going to be a W-2 employee like I was, you have to be in what I call a levered plan. For most of my career, I was in what's called a 60-40 or a 50-50, which meant 50 or 60% of my pay was fixed. I got that for showing up, and the other was variable. And when you're on a variable comp plan, you also have this thing called accelerators. But obviously, a key to my story is collecting assets. I was collecting assets. For example, Norris Drive, that first house that
Right.
produced 1,100. So in one year, that would add $13,200 to my income. When I had bought Terrace, it added another 13, right? So as my income was going up, now again, these are gross, not net, true, but that's what we're talking gross here. Um, that was a key element as well. So, um,
Huge.
but again, I think the key to being a good entrepreneur, or if you're going to be an employee, I think you have to be on a levered plan or be at a tech company that's giving out RSUs or stock as a reward or golden handcuffs.
Bonuses.
Yeah,
Right.
bonuses, things of that nature. But when you're an entrepreneur, um, I'm curious. You run in a circle that I don't. How many entrepreneurs do you know that do 7 figures a year that are what I'll call solopreneurs? I guess what I'm
Mhm.
asking is a team required to make a
No,
million bucks a year? I have no idea.
most definitely not. I do not think a team is required. If anything, I think once for a lot of solopreneurs, those that I've seen that do try to create a big team, they actually go backwards in income
Oh,
because not everybody, and this is, when you look at entrepreneurs, right? You have the solopreneur and the entrepreneur. Not every solopreneur is meant to be a full-blown entrepreneur, and not every entrepreneur is meant to be a full-blown solopreneur. In
right.
fact, I know solopreneurs that make way more money on their own, and they have no desire to go and do anything else outside of what they're doing because they know that's what works for them, right? So, the second big thing that I look at on earning 7 figures is knowing thyself, like knowing who you really are, right? Like, can you really manage a team? I thought we can manage, 17, 20 people at one time. I lost my mind, right?
Mhm.
Now I know it's like, it's a little team. It's a little team. It's a SEAL team 6, and that's it. And we
Right.
can get very, very far with that SEAL team 6. And to answer the question as far as solopreneurs, most of them realize that after they start to build some teams, they start to bring some salespeople in, and then they go,
Mm.
hold on, hold on, hold on. I
No,
was making
no, no,
way
no,
more
no.
money doing this the other way, right? Making
Yeah.
way more money going the opposite direction. So know thyself, guys. Know who you are, know what makes you tick, know what makes you not. And then if you don't know that, go look at a sales floor. Like go shadow a sales floor. I remember I went and I shadowed. My buddy owns a massive uh credit consolidation company. Massive. They have like 70 people on that sales floor. And I
Mm.
remember walking in and being like, nope, no
Whoa,
way.
not mine.
Not my cup of tea.
Yeah. Yeah. The other thing I'm curious about, it's funny that you talk about Beth Traverso, top 1% agent presenter at the Vegas event where you were at. He talked about everybody was building teams, right? And she
Right.
kind of went down that path to your point, and she's like, "Oh, this is not me." And she had to go
No.
backwards to go forward. So that's interesting. You got to know thyself, right? Don't just copy to copy. Um,
And we did that wrong too, and it's so good. Don't copy to copy, right? Like that's so spot on. We went and shadowed a wholesale company in Arizona, and they had like a they had a massive sales floor, and we came back and we were so juiced. We're like, let's copy them, let's copy them. We okay, so what did we do? We did first year 1.2. The second year we were just approaching $2 million. It was like 2.2, and then we ended up going backwards by trying to bring in all these people. Yeah, our gross revenue was higher, but our net income was down. And you guys, the
yeah,
gross revenue means nothing if you don't
nothing.
take any of it home.
That's right. Congratulations. You worked harder and made less money.
And
Congrats.
that's exactly what we did. More stress, more office furniture, more office space, more computers. It's like we ended up having to sell half of it at like pennies on the dollar. Like it just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it's crazy. The other thing I think about making seven figures that I think is true, while you made seven figures the last 5 years running into year six, didn't happen overnight. I think everybody expects it to happen overnight, right? So how
Doesn't.
long was the journey, right, to finally get there? Because it didn't happen overnight, I'm guessing.
No. I got into the game in 2011, so 8 years until it happened. And I want to touch on this point, guys, because I thought when I got into the game, I remember this. I remember this. We're in Cabo. It's my third year in the business. We're with some title reps. I made like 350 grand. I thought I was doing it. And I go, I'm going to make $1 million next year. And they all like looked at me and laughed. Right. And I remember getting mad and I'm like, why are they laughing? Right. I remember my ego flaring. Why are they laughing? And now I know why they were laughing. It's because they were looking at me going, kid, you got a lot to learn. You got a
Yeah.
lot to learn. And then what was that? 5 years later, we finally did it. Right. 5 whole years after I said I was going to make $1 million.
Yeah.
So it's
Well, I love that. Let me ask you this. 'Cause I don't think people get it. They see the numbers 350 to a million, 5 years, they get it. They're like, I'll do that. But I don't think they really understand how much different of a person, a leader, a business owner was Adrian at 350 in Cabo versus Adrian finally hitting that $1 million mark. I'm guessing you were nothing like that kid at 350.
most definitely not. I thought I had $1 million, Zuber, and I didn't even have $100,000 in the bank. My head was bigger than my bank account.
Mm.
And that what would that be, 25, 24, 25-year-old Adrian was a very egotistical, look at me, look at what I'm doing, I'm Mr. Big Shot, number one agent in my office. I had no humbleness to me. There was nothing but fake. I what I call it, fakepaneur, right? I was a
Mm.
fakepaneur. I wasn't, I really
Hey,
wasn't
goodpreneur.
doing it.
I love that.
I didn't pay my taxes. Like
Oh,
I didn't I didn't pay my taxes. I didn't have a P&L. I didn't have every dollar I would get $1 and spend $2. And in my mind, spend $5 and then make it act like I was spending $10.
uh, yeah. Yeah, there's
I had to learn.
the journey to seven figures as an entrepreneur, frankly, I don't think people realize how much you have to evolve, right?
Yeah,
What you're doing to make 100 is not what you'll do to make 250, which is not what you'll do to do seven, which is it's just not the same.
It's not in any way, shape, or form. And who you and to your point, who you are as a person has to drastically change. And
Oh
and
yeah.
and 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 my next point, when we look at how do you get to seven figures, is you have to become a different person. The person who you are today is not going to make $1 million. You have to, there are mindset things, there are rituals, there are things you have to do as a leader that have to change and evolve. The communication level between human beings, like I wouldn't even hear someone out. I'm like, well, if you're not going to do it, well, then see, the fact that you're pausing is the reason why you're not going to take action. I'm out. And it's
I'm
like,
out.
well, hold on, Speedy Gonzalez, like slow your ass down. Like
Yeah.
you're not even fully listening to what the person is saying.
Yeah. The other thing I've known about entrepreneurs that produce seven figures a year is they may focus internally in the beginning, like we're doing this, we're doing that, but they finally get the switch that it's serving the like the client, right? It's serving the client and being of service and investing for the long term. Um, Very few people, hit the $1 million and go backwards. It's usually
Right.
once you build the infrastructure, you go further. Why don't you talk about that?
Yeah. I want to share something before I answer that question because I had to
Sure.
bring this photo up. Look at this is the egotistical red
Oh,
tie
you looking sharp. Look at that watch.
that uh, I look like I was $1 million. Juber, I was negative.
Oh, you
I was
look clean
negative
though.
here. Like
Clean.
I find this and then look at the evolvedness, right? And then I get a little bit more humble,
A little more
right? I get
humble,
a
yeah.
little bit more humble. And then this is just like my alter ego Instagram, right? But it's so cool to see,
Dude,
guys. It's
I love that. I mean, look at the first one, all sharp, suited and booted. That's a custom suit because it fits perfect.
it was a
And now
thousand
you're look,
dollars.
yeah, now you're looking, you're like, hey, I'm comfortable. Now you're comfortable in your own skin. The blue blazer.
Yeah,
Uh
and this was the shy, I don't know what I'm doing, right?
New guy, yeah,
You can see it in my face, right?
yeah.
And then I thought I made some money, and then here I go, right? You can just see
Woo!
the change, and
Oh
then
yeah,
life hit me. This is when we opened the brokerage and life really hit me, and
yeah.
I started to get humble, right? Because you guys, I went backwards, like the 350, I went backwards. I ended up only making $150,000 my would that be sixth year in real estate. I made we went back and looked, my wife and I went back and looked, $150,000 is what I made living in Orange County.
I want to hit something right here. That is so awesome because the other thing that I see in successful entrepreneurs and then folks that don't get there is they quote unquote diversify too soon. You
Too
were
soon.
on a path, you were doing it, and then you divided your focus. You probably told yourself, hey, I'm going to open a brokerage and that's going to turbocharge. But no, you're not ready for that yet. You're going to go
No,
backwards. Yeah.
we had a $32,000 a month payment on an office building what was what was I
Oh,
doing?
that's right.
What? All right, I'm sorry. So I'm sorry. What was your question? I'm sorry.
No, but listen, it's just, I think so. Entrepreneurship can be a very lonely game. It can also be very repetitive, right? If you get in a system that's working, some entrepreneurs I know, maybe you're this way, Adrian, they just got to tinker with it. They're just always creative. Hence,
Right.
I'm having great success 350. Let's open a brokerage because that's already working. This will, hey, if it's working, double down. More is better. Don't divide your focus.
Exactly. And how many people do you see get rid of the focus only to go backwards, only to fall?
Yeah, I don't, I mean, entrepreneurs that I know that are successful are naturally inquisitive, tinkerers. They kind of live in chaos. But when you're in it and what you're doing is working, double down, enjoy that. Go more. You don't have to tinker. It's okay to just let the cards, let the hot hand run, right? When you're at a casino playing blackjack and you got a hot shoe, just keep going.
Run it. So
Run it.
good.
Yeah.
So good. So I think we were talking about the infrastructure on
Yes.
growing a team. Uh, that's a different mindset too, guys. And you have to become a different person when you are, growing an infrastructure. Like, there's one thing my assistant says all the time. She goes, "Hey, I notice like every month you're getting better and better at communicating with the employees. Like you're getting better and better at communicating with me. Like before,
Wow.
I mean, why isn't this done? Like, why, how come I gave you this task? Why isn't it?" And now it's like, hey, help me understand why, I know you had this task assigned, and help me understand, what do we need to do to help you get it accomplished? And little things that I've changed from who I was as a leader to how you have to evolve throughout that infrastructure and throughout building that team, right? It's really important, guys. Self-awareness plays a really big role in getting to seven figures. Self-awareness from who you are on a day-to-day perspective. So like every day I just take an inventory. Hey, what did I do right today? And what did I do wrong well, not necessarily wrong. What can I get better at tomorrow? Right? What did I do right today? And what can I get better at tomorrow? What I don't want to do, I used to beat myself up a lot. Maybe some of you guys beat yourself up. I think everybody beats themselves up, but I would go home and look at like everything I used to do wrong. And now it's like, okay, what can I do to get better at it? Well, that conversation with Andrea didn't go too well. Well, then what questions can I ask tomorrow that can maybe lighten it a little bit, where it's not as thick energy. She can feel free to open herself up and really talk to me. And it's not like I'm sitting there and it's my way or the highway type of thing.
Yeah, no, I think there's so much in this. The other thing, again, when you are working and networking with other entrepreneurs that get to seven figures, I see, but again, maybe I'm very biased. They're constantly investing in themselves,
Always.
right? They're getting in new rooms. Is that true?
Oh yeah, most definitely. From day one, I've always had a coach. From literally, I didn't even close my first deal, and I hired my first coach at $1,000 a month. Shaddy Bazzi,
Mm.
right? I asked my mom, can I borrow her credit card? She said no. And then I asked my dad, and he said no. So then I went and got a credit card. What was it? It was like a something, because I didn't have another thing, guys. I didn't have like a good credit score. I messed up my credit at 19, 18 years old. So long story short, I ended up finding somebody. They gave me a credit card, and ever since day one, I've always reinvested in myself. Now, it is also really important to this point is make sure you're in the right rooms,
Mm.
right? Like, don't go put yourself in the wrong rooms. Like, I don't want to say I was in the wrong rooms, but some of the rooms that I was in was preaching the go buy the $1,500 suit,
Oh,
go increase your expenses, because the more expenses you have, the harder you'll
hungrier you
work.
get.
Right. Yeah. And
Oh,
it's just another deal,
ugh.
right? Go buy the
Yeah.
thing. I remember I showed up. I had just a normal pen like this, right? And I was at one of the events, and they're like, no one's going to take you seriously with that pen. What are you doing with that pen? Like, no one's going to take you seriously. What did I do the next day? I went and bought a Mont Blanc $1,000 pen. So sometimes the room that you're in isn't the right room. And then I found
Yeah.
the right room, right? I went to Tony, I found the right room. Some of you were at the ORAD event in Vegas. That's the right room, right?
Mm.
There wasn't anybody big flexing in there. Nobody was telling you to go buy a Ferrari to get yourself in debt so you can go do more deals. Like, no, it's a half backwards process.
Yeah, let's talk about the right rooms because after the ORAD event, I have I have a very different opinion. I used to think that events were about the attendee or the speakers or hosts or whatever. Now that's important,
Right.
but I will ever for always and for the future remember it's about the people in the audience. Who else is going?
So
That
good.
is always going to be more important to me. So when you go to an event and you're seeing the people around you flexing a Mont Blanc pen or they're wearing the $20,000 watch or whatever, to me, that's a red flag. That's
Right.
not that's not my jam. That's not the path to a better financial future, in my opinion.
Yep. And I remember being in a room after that when we started to get into wholesale, and everybody, to your point, had on, they were probably 50, $60,000 gold, all gold Rolexes,
Mm,
big old thick gold chains, right?
yeah.
Spiky shoes, right? And it's like, and then I start to see these guys, Zuber, that close one deal, and they go and they spend all their money on a gold chain. And it's like, what are we doing? So you guys be aware, like look around, right? Look around the room. And to Zuber's point, like ask yourself, is that something I want to model? What one thing I've done very, very well, then I would say, after I got my ego checked, and what would that be? 2013, 14, no, 15. I just started modeling. Like I started really paying attention to Joe D. Raffaelli, to Ty, right? You don't see Joe D driving around in a Rolls Royce, right? You don't
Mm-mm.
see Joe D drives around in a Lexus, right?
Yeah.
And it's
And
like a
he could.
10-year-old Lexus.
Yeah. And he
Yeah,
could.
but he makes more money than most people that I know, right? And
Absolutely.
and he doesn't have a big team. It's a lean team, and he's happy and it's good. Ty, and yourself, like I look at modeling the people that have true wealth and true success, because you guys, the flashy stuff it's not true success. It's cool, it makes you feel good in the moment, but it's not real success.
No, I couldn't agree with that more. All right. The other thing that's really important, I think, is um, I think a lot of entrepreneurs, if you're going to get on the path to $1 million, I generally think they lean positive versus doomers. I don't think you can be an entrepreneur and think the world is ending. I
No,
think you
no.
generally have to be positive. Is that true?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I do know some entrepreneurs that, they are fairly on the half empty glass, right?
Really? Okay.
But they've hit some good strides, right?
Mm.
And one thing that I always tell them is, hey, it's not going to last because your mindset, right?
Yeah. It's just
And
luck, right? They were in the right place at the right time. I would think if you're an
pretty much,
entrepreneur and you're half empty, it's just eventually going to fall apart because you're going to miss something.
most
You're
definitely.
you're going to miss an opportunity to invest or an opportunity to tweak, and you're just going to grind on it. There's going to be an opportunity here, but you're focused here, and it's just going to pass you by.
Kind of ironic that we're talking about this because I just started listening to Great by Choice by
Oh,
Jim
nice.
Collins. You got
Yep.
to check it out.
Okay.
And what he talked about is what you just said right now. Is there was two different ice teams that were traveling to the South Pole. There were
Mm,
two different teams, and one team had a mindset that everything's going wrong for him, half empty glass type guy, right? Everything's going wrong for him, all this crazy stuff. And it's that you got to listen to the book. And long story short, the story shows that he literally they ended up dying in a tent
oh
10
no.
miles from the goalpost
Wow.
because of their mind. And this other guy just was very optimistic. It's okay. The bad weather, it's in our favor. It's in our favor. It's going to be okay. And everyone said it was impossible, and yet they got there. And the other team didn't get there, and they ended up dying in a tent because
Mm,
because of this, because of that half empty mentality. So
yeah.
can you? Yes. Will you eventually die because of it? Most definitely. And
Oh,
and and I don't
it's
mean I don't
poison.
mean that
Yeah.
figuratively. I mean that, I mean that, well,
Business.
maybe I
The
said that
business
right.
will die. No, the
Right.
business will die. You're even if you have a successful business making 350, 500, whatever, if you allow the mindset to always focus on the negative, the business will die. It's
Most
just
definitely.
it won't succeed. I have a
He,
great option for oh, go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say he did talk about like the paranoid people, like Bill
Mhm.
Gates was always paranoid, but he was optimistic. Like he knew it was gonna work, but there
Right.
was some things in him that just he was just always paranoid, right?
Yeah.
And
Andy
it's like
Grove, the paranoid survive.
the paranoid survived.
Yeah, I think that's what he said. Andy Grove, CEO of Intel. Only the paranoid survive, I think is
Oh,
the
that's
exact.
right. That is right. That is right.
Only the paranoid survive. Exactly. Folks, I'll put a link to Great by Choice in the description below if you want to check it out. It will be my Amazon link, so I think I get credit for that. I have no idea. That's what people tell me. It'll be below. I have a video topic number 2 that I'm going to spring on Adrian in a minute. Adrian, how do people follow you?
You guys hit me up on Instagram at Adrian Hernandez, YouTube, Adrian Hernandez Real Estate. Appreciate you.
Thank you.